Hello, everybody. Welcome to another art stream today. Today is going to be like uh, less of an art in general topic, and we're just going to draw dragon heads for a while and talk about other stuff. So there's lots of stuff that I want to talk about, and I didn't know that I could fill just an hour with dragon heads. Maybe I can, but we'll see if any other topics pop up. So we'll cover a couple of different ways that you can go about this, and hopefully make yourself a little more familiar with animal head shapes in general, really, because there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And the more you do it, the more natural it will eventually become. But yeah, so we'll cover that today. Welcome to whoever just came. You want to make sure that your dragons don't look like mutated pears. Oh, hard same. Hard same. Yeah. Alright. So, it looks like the concern coming from the chat is mainly about straight on headshots. And we'll cover this in some depth. Like typically a straight on shot is not the most appealing dragon portrait, but sometimes they can be useful or meaningful or impactful. And whatever. If you guys want to make sure that they look good, let's make sure that they look good. Yeah. There was something interesting shared in chat just now, like about how dragon heads can be simplified to kind of boxy forms. Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and cover a front view, and we'll cover a couple of things about drawing in general that can maybe help you out with this. So, all right. Um, Let me cover projection. I know that I've covered this before, but I'll just kind of recover it for anyone who's not familiar. So, projection is a technique where you take what you know how to draw and you draw it, and it helps you imagine the thing in different angles. So, what's a simpler way of putting that? You're diagramming your, let's see here, making a drawing diagram from an easy angle to help figure out another angle. Alright. So let's say that you know, for example, and maybe not everyone knows, but it's okay. We're all learning here. So maybe you know, for example, how to draw a dragon head in a profile image, in a straight on, like it's looking, doesn't really matter, looking straight this way or straight that way, so that we only see the head from a side on perspective. So if I'm drawing a primary mass of the head about right there, let's try and make sure that we have room for everything. When drawing dragons, they're quite big, so they tend to take up a lot of space. So say that you want to take it from just a straight on profile view. You're going to have a general eye shape about there, and you'll get a mouth shape. And I don't like to draw dragons with super long snouts, but we'll get it in there. Okay, so if we take it from profile and we want, and we can decide a couple of things that we want about our dragon from this point. Exactly how tall is the muzzle in comparison to the rest of the head. I go about halfway, and we set the eyes up a little forward, and we set the jaw a little backwards, and we draw a neck down. Could be from here. Some people like dragons with Adam's apple necks, kind of stuff hanging out there. If your dragon's got like spines or a mane or something, draw that in too. But yeah, so we got a simple drawing dragon idea, and try and make sure that you have all of the parts of it that you need. If it's got ears, it can have kind of long ears, or it can have fins, or it can have both, whatever. I don't happen to like that. I happen to not like that. So I'm not going to do it that way. But I will go in there anyway. Alright. Yeah, no, this is what projection is helpful for. If you wouldn't ever really draw a straight on angle, like doing that anyway can help as a diagram. So like it turns out I didn't need quite that much space. So I will go ahead and crop that down a bit. Crop that down a bit. Alright, so we can get like a sketch of a dragon. This is just like an ink sketch. And then what we can do is we can go a layer above, say with like a different tool. So we'll turn this one down a bit so that we can see what we're doing a little bit easier. I'm going to use a red layout pencil for this next part. And this is the important part of projection, right? Making sure that you get things out in straight lines. Actually, one of the ways that I can do this, I can drop in a ruler. So let me do that. Hang on just a second. We're going to do a parallel line ruler. And we're just going to set it straight. There we go. Okay, this is going to help us do a straight projection. So we will go ahead and get in there with this. So this will be the layer that we just draw the lines from. So what we do is we take it from every interesting feature of the dragon and we can kind of draw it out. And you can do this in a variety of colors if you like, if that helps you keep track of things. So why don't I do that actually? So we'll do that. Let me swap pencils here. So we'll have a red line here. And we'll have an orange line here. And a yellow line here. And a green line here. And a blue line here. And we can do a purple line wherever, really. Let's do it right there. I didn't do things in order. But, you know what? Whatever. So now we have a projection, and each of these colored lines goes back to a different point, right? And this can help us kind of figure out what the dragon looks like in a multitude of angles. If we just hold the proportions to these constraints right here. So let's see we're going to go to a different layer. We'll keep those on. We'll go to a different layer and we will go back to a black pencil on another layer, for instance. Okay, and say that this one's going to be a front-on headshot, right? That one's there. We go. Nope, keep that. I just didn't want that, but I'm getting that anyway. Rather, I did want that, but whatever. Alright, we're going to draw another box, and then this one's going to be the head-on projection, right? And so we can say, like, oh, hey, horns are going to be right here-ish, you know, and we want this centered, right? So the entire shape of the head is about between the orange line and the blue line. So we can go back in there, and we can say the primary head mass is going to be about here, right? And then the muzzle mass, we've drawn a line out between the blue and the green lines here, so we're going to draw a muzzle mass about there. And in the front, you want to make sure that you're getting shapes fairly straightforward too. So if you want to make sure that there's room for the eyes, you can draw more of like a kind of a nose shape if you needed like a room for bigger eyes or something like that. Or just making sure that you get the 3D kind of impression of your dragon snout. Say it's more boxy, and I tend to do a lot of dragons with like boxier snouts. So I'll do a top line that's kind of squarish, right? And then the bottom might be kind of squarish too. Say that it's more trapezoidal or whatever. You know, you got your guidelines for projection out here, and this is your front view, and you want to make sure that you're including important parts too. So like if there's a jaw out here in this spot and it happens to go along the same points, you can draw it back, you can draw it down that way. Now the jaw might be a little like up from the line, so it's not like exactly on the line, but it's up a little. So we'll just go up a little, and we'll draw a jaw about there. So we still want kind of a spherical kind of head shape or whatever. But yeah, so this is the principle that we'll be carrying on. We just notice where the lines are going, and we kind of make decisions about where stuff is going to end up based on the lines that we drew. So I've got an ear, for instance, that ends at about where the eye corner would meet this orange line here. So we'll go in from there. And this is a technique that you can use to kind of help your symmetry too, because if everything's straight along these lines, it makes things a little bit easier. And then we can get in some eyes, and we want to make sure that those are a good distance apart. Typically with creatures, you can fit like a single eyeball shape between their two eyes, so that's one thing that you can do for spacing to make sure that they're spaced out. And you can put them closer, you can put them further apart, doesn't really matter. But we've got eyes right here, so we've got like a high corner on this dragon's eyes, right? So they're going to be tilted upwards a lot. So the corners of the eyes are going to be up here. And then maybe we can have another corner in the opposite so that the eyes are like on a bit of a tilt, right? So we can have that and that. You know, and just kind of work with your angles. And if it doesn't turn out right, hey, start over. That's okay. I like my dragons very expressive, so I give them like human-like eyebrows or eyebrow ridges or something like that. All right, we got a top spot. Let's go to the horns now. Let's say that the horns don't come out quite as far as the ears, but they're gonna start. See, I didn't draw like a really clear like horn base or whatever here, but I'm gonna have to make that decision now. And the horns will typically taper smaller. That means that the base is the biggest part and the tip of the horn is the smallest. So it's kind of like a twisted cone-like shape. Yeah. So we've got this first curve that's happening at about that line. So remember, in like using this technique, this projection technique, it's helpful to remember that you follow it. Things will curve back or whatever. And things are going to be, you're going to try and keep things roughly symmetrical. It's never going to be like perfect, but you know, do what you can. So we get another horn base here. And perhaps that's not tapering the way that I want it to. That's okay. We can ease up the angles a bit. And try to get something that's like mostly symmetrical. And so this is where you're gonna make decisions about like, always you're making decisions and remaking decisions, right? To where like, what exactly does the front of my dragon's face look like? For example, on my dragon character, I've got a bunch of plates along the front that kind of slope down between the eyes and across the bridge of the nose. So I can draw in plates like that. You know, or you can include like some spines that go up, or a mane or whatever, and say that this dragon has frills. The bottom of that frill or whatever is a bit higher than the jaw, so we can be safe in coming out there. Big 1, big 2, 3. Yeah, and just pay attention to your proportions and all that. And so we got a mouth right about here, and we got nostrils about there, right? And the neck will kind of emerge from under the jaw. So we've got a jaw area kind of right there. Let me clarify that up a little bit. Kind of a jaw area. And then the mouth is gonna go backwards along there somewhat. Decide, you know, on the mouth shape, if it kind of like curves up and does this flare out near the nostrils, and it gets a little bit thinner there, that can be an interesting shape. But yeah. And then the neck will come out from there at approximately where the jaw's at. And then if there are undersides, the scutes or whatever, those can be a little bit thinner. If it's got belly scutes like a snake. Yeah. And then if it's got like a mane or a hairstyle or whatever like mine does, just kind of put that in there. You know? Or not. But yeah, that's projection. Is that fairly straightforward? Let me see here. Let me read some of this. Okay. Yeah. So there's projection, and there's how you can draw like a dragon head from profile and kind of translate it to another. And so now we've got kind of a mugshot, right? And this can help us inform what yet another three-quarter shot is going to look like. And we can keep all the same projection lines too. So let me take this entire thing that's here and kind of scooch it off over here, holding shift to constrain it along one axis so that I'm not misaligning anything anymore. Go back in here. We can get another box if we like. Whoops. This is a good way too, if you're drawing like a reference sheet or something like that, to keep this this kind of ruler, these rulers in place, so that you can kind of make sure that the proportions remain the same. And that's not how all images are working all the time necessarily. You're going to have to stretch and squash things according to perspective and stuff. But, you know, this can help you get at least a general idea of what you're doing. Let's get some eyes in there. Yeah. Cute, right? It's adorable. But yeah, you can go in there and work on that. Alright, moving on to, so these are both a profile or mugshot. Or alternately diagram. And say we've got a 3/4 here. So yet again, so we're gonna, since the shape goes kind of longish, we're going to put the spherical head shape on this side of our drawn kind of canvas or whatever, and that way we can make sure that we're getting room for the snout. And so we're going to, this is kind of boxy at the end. Here's what we decided. So let's draw kind of like a contoured box on our spherical shape here. And that will kind of tell us like, oh, hey, that's how our shape will generally look if we project it out this way. And there'll be nostrils here and there. And since we're turned, we can create kind of a midline, right? That's the thing about drawing stuff in like straight on, is that your midlines will be straight lines, and then when you've turned to 3/4, those midlines are going to contour to the front of their face or whatever. And so I've decided that's kind of swooping down, so there's going to be a little squish here. Eyes are going to be here again. There will be space between them. And then this eye will be kind of squished off to one side because of perspective. It doesn't necessarily have to hold to this spherical shape, right? That's a general kind of guideline for making sure that the proportions are correct. But your actual skull shape can be a bit different, and so it can kind of come out, and there's a brow ridge or something like that, and then it kind of concaves where the eyes are, and then maybe pops out again where the cheeks are. So that would be a big cheek area, like right there and right there. But yeah, same principles hold. Draw in kind of pointy animal ears, if you like, or the frills, again, if you like. So it looks like the bottom of that lines up with about the mouth, so we're going to go about right there. And that will be like the smallest one. This will be a medium one. This will be out there. I'm kind of breaking our box boundaries here now. Oh, shame on me. It's not really a problem. If you run out of space, I'm like, oh, hey, let's get out there. Let's get us some more space or whatever. Space is cool. Okay, and our major curves with the horns are going to be up and like this. And since we've got one kind of going up this way, right, and the other kind of going up this way, when you're turning the head, it's gonna squash, it's gonna stretch this arrow a bit this way, and it's gonna squash this arrow a bit that way. So in the end, your arrow that's angled like this is gonna have a little more drastic of an angle right there, and your arrow that's angled up like this is going to have a little less drastic of an angle, maybe. So it's going to point a little bit upwards. Since the horns both kind of slope back, we're just going to reduce kind of the slope on this one. So like they're both going to be swinging back, but this one's not going to be like quite as sloped as this one. I hope that makes sense. So we draw like a horn. Still got the front of the spot. General idea. And we can pay attention to like how the eyes are pointed again. Maybe I feel this is too long. Whatever. I can go back in and fix it. Or maybe this is too boxy, it's too constrained. Maybe this doesn't look right to you. That's okay. You can add a bit of a, the jaw here kind of slopes up, right? So what if we decided like the chin was up here instead? We can make the jaw kind of angle up a bit so that it's not exactly a box, right? And we can say there's a little overhang right there and the bottom jaw. So yeah. And then again, we'll kind of erase these spots out. Finalize where the horns are going to be. So let me get rid of these cheek shapes, right? Let's erase those guidelines because we don't need them anymore. If your guidelines are ever confusing you, get rid of them. Don't need to be confused by guidelines. Get the hell out of here. Confusing guidelines. But yeah. If I wanted to get the plates in there, just gotta remember everything's kind of like sloping this way, squished this way. Maybe remember which way they're angled up. You know, maybe remember where the main is at. If we got a main, or if there's not one, you know, whatever. Or if you got spikes or whatnot. These are all possibilities. You draw dragons however you want. Alright, so that's one technique. That's projection. And it can help in other angles as well, right? So say that this straight on, 3/4 angle is a little too boring for your tastes. You can do the exact same thing. Let me make a new layer. And make a new, let's see here, parallel line. And this one's going to be straight down or whatever. We turn off this ruler, and we turn on this one, and we do the same thing, but we're going to go in a down perspective now. This is right here, tip of the snout's going to be right there, and you can do the exact same thing, like rotate that up and down and this, and constraining those proportions like that can help you kind of visualize that. So like if we tilt this muzzle up or whatever, we're going to start hiding that eye because of the way things are constrained, right? If this starts tilting upwards, we're going to have to start imagining it differently. But yeah, that's those are ideas that can help you rotate a form, a complex form, in 3 dimensions. Is this related to that weird circle of head angles? Yeah, it can be. Each of those, yeah, each of those heads is rotated, and you'll see that the way that they're rotated, like, that's a really small picture. But yeah, you can see that features are kind of constrained. You can draw kind of straight lines across some of these features and see that, like, oh hey, the top of the ear is always in the same place there, huh? Look at that. It's okay, whatever. It's a thumbnail. Whatever. If it works, it works. So yeah, that's one method. That's projection. I could also go into 3D modeling. That's another way that you can do this. If projection's too hard for you, maybe you could try 3D modeling. Do you want me to demonstrate that? I'm gonna leave that up to you guys, because this is projection, and then if we wanted to do a 3D model, I can kind of show you what I do, at least. But yeah. or how I might handle it. Or would you rather me cover something like expressiveness? Because it can be important to make your dragons expressive. Perhaps the number one rule of like dragon expressiveness is to like include body language probably first. That would probably be the first most important rule. Expression sounds nice, actually. Does that sound good to everyone? I'm gonna go in that direction. I'm gonna make a decision. Y'all are indecisive as fuck. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll go to, and we can keep using this model for well, actually no, we're not going to be able to do this. So diagramming can help you kind of thumbnail an image, but I typically don't recommend using it for like a final image unless you've made sure to like rotate it. You can use this diagram to help you kind of figure out a model, and you can use it to help you figure out a final drawing. But yeah, so try not to let the first time you draw something be the last time you draw something too. I guess is all I'm trying to say there. Yeah. What are some of the most common characteristics of dragons? It depends on who you ask, really. So, all right. Let me try for expressiveness now. So let me kind of go. We will put away this. We're gonna put away all of that actually. So we'll bring out a new one. Let's see here. This will be another one. All right. So one of the like I said, the first thing to make sure that your dragons are expressive. One of the ways that I like to do that is I kind of alter the anatomy of dragons and I give them more human-like features. So like you'll see some artists out there drawing dragons and they'll be like, "Oh, these are like big ferocious beasts or whatnot." I don't necessarily like that angle. Um, I like the angle of like a dragon that's more humanish. So, um, if you're gonna animate a dragon and make them a character, like How to Train Your Dragon is an excellent example of how you might do that. Is that they make Toothless a bit more expressive and a bit more not terribly human-like. They probably with Toothless they take the angle of making them more like a dog or something like that, or with animals that are a bit more familiar to humans or people. But anyway, I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I'm not just drawing a head anymore. Even if you just want to draw like a portrait, it's great to figure out a kind of pose first. So kind of work in like a body here. And you don't necessarily have to put in the full body if you know that you're only after like this portrait or whatever. But it helps you to kind of like keep things consistent and be like, okay, where am I gonna put like a chest or a rib cage, or like can I somehow fit like a claw into this image? Will help you out a lot with expressiveness. And say this is gonna go. Say this is gonna face downwards a bit, so there's gonna have an eye angle approximately there. Or maybe not, because I don't like that suddenly. Make sure. So yeah, body language. Big one, right? Maybe this guy's like lounging back on a giant pile of gold or something like that, you know? He's using the pile of gold as his like lounge chair or whatnot. You know, we can get kind of the sense of that just from this portrait area, right? Maybe we've decided we don't want to draw the full body. We're just going to focus on the face. And what's good about there's a design principle there actually, which I feel is useful. It's called facism. And facism is basically the principle that the more focus on the face, whoops, the more focus on the face, the more emotional slash cerebral the subject appears. So yeah, facism. Yeah, if you want people to more think about like what's going on inside the head of your dragon or whatever, portraits are a great way to do that, because your emphasis on the face will reveal a lot of subtle details and expressiveness, whatever. That's kind of a subtle bias that humans have about themselves. I don't know if it always carries over on anthros, but that is generally a design principle. You can look up facism and find stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, important to review. If you want your dragons to be expressive, figure out a body language. Figure out where their neck and major stuff is gonna fall, even if you're only drawing a portrait or whatever. What I like to do is like give my dragons collarbones. That way they can. It kind of makes anatomical sense for them to gesticulate like humans do. Whereas if they're like more strictly like animal anatomy, um, that doesn't have quite the same range of expression of emotion. Or well, I don't know. Maybe I'm full of nonsense there, but like but the way that you choose to depict your dragons uh, says something about like how you think dragons are. Like I much prefer dragons in stories if they're more human-like, if they can speak. That's why How to Train Your Dragon is not my favorite dragon movie, actually. Maybe I don't want those up there. Maybe those belong up here, and that makes more sense. Let me zoom in on this. And I've done videos on emotions before, so I've covered this material before. If you want to go in a little bit more depth, I suggest you go and watch that. I'll probably link that in YouTube eventually. I might come back to the Discord chat and link it there too, but like I try not to make the corners of the mouths go too far back. If it's kind of smiling, I can lift up cheekbones. If they're kind of frowning, I can do the same on the opposite. Can lower stuff down. Draw it down into... I draw a lot of cute smiling dragons. Let's draw like one that's maybe not so cute this time. Or maybe one that is just as cute but looks in a different emotion rather than smiling or whatever. I'm so stuck. You ever feel stuck as an artist and like, oh hey, my stuff's too cute? I feel that. I feel that a lot. Maybe these horns are just gonna be straight. Kind of swoop back. That works. And maybe that's how it is in Moxie. Maybe I want it more slopey. Let me do it in that style instead. Shake things up a bit. Give it more of a beak-like structure, maybe. Whatever. How you draw dragons, up to you. No, it's okay. Oh. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry certain people can't make it. I'm gonna say it's okay. So, I should probably go over like should probably go a little more over anthropomorphism. So, like, one of the things that's one of the things that I love to use is the eyes, and so I give my characters lots of eye whites, so to speak. So there can be like a lot of subtlety and direction of the eyes. Whereas if you draw eyes more like smaller, or if they're so I go a bit like big, right? But if I want things to be like less humans, I can draw really small eyes that are kind of beady. Maybe I don't want them so big. I don't know, stylistic choices are everything. But you can see if I fill the eye up a little bit more, like the effect that that has on me personally is it's taking away some of the expressiveness. So it reveals more like that's showing dragons as more beast-like, which I don't personally like that. But you know, whatever. Taste is taste. Maybe they still got the plates, because I'm drawing those in. Maybe they go all the way down to the tip of the snout. Nothing stopping that. But yeah, I don't necessarily like that. Look for the eyes. I prefer eyes that are a bit bigger and a bit more expressive and a bit more you can call them like anime-ish, I guess. That's how I prefer to do it. How someone else prefers to do it is on them. Let's have this one like a long, flowy mane. Something like that. I hope folks are finding this helpful. But yeah, so I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but another thing about like being expressive is including gestures. So like here, I'm kind of drawing kind of a hand-like shape, and this is another one of those like adding humanish anatomy to dragons to make them more expressive in the ways that I like. More expressive in a human type of way. If you don't like dragons that look like humans, I'm the wrong artist to follow. Maybe you're not going to include everything, but have the basics of your anatomy figured out. It'll help your images read a bit better. Seeing even that changes the expressiveness a little, like adding the eyebrows, where you place the brow ridge or whatever, is important. Is an important detail of the type of expression that you're wishing to pull off. So if I give that a little curve there, can put in some concern or some "what the hell are you doing in my lair" type of look. I was posing for a picture and suddenly there's a adventurer pounding on my door like, what the hell do you want to kill me for? Screw you, human. You ruined my portrait. I'm going to eat you. I hope you folks find this entertaining at least a little. Oh, chat's active. Yeah, it's a lot of info. Oh. Yeah, take a break if you need to. Yeah. All right. We're just about out of time. Did anyone want me to cover anything else? Um, yeah, I've covered more expressiveness in the past, so more videos of that type. I have, so I will link them. Let's see here. Yeah, if there's anything else you'd like me to cover in the last couple minutes. Bit more geometrically. Yeah, that's fine. Do it however you want to do it. If it makes you feel good, draw a dragon composed only of triangles or something like that. I like that. I don't mind that. Draw a dragon composed only of squares or something. I don't care. Doo 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 doo. Expressive dragon. Alright. I've been sitting here in silence a little too long. But yeah, if you have questions about anything that I've said today, or anything that I have not said today, if it offends you that I left something out, feel free to yell at me. Uh, I do that. I have to add the eye shinies. I don't know why I gotta do that. I just compulsively do that. Give the eyes a bit of moisture, bit of life. So yeah, even though we've figured out more of that that body language right there, we're not gonna leave it in there. If we just do a portrait, we'll just leave it like that. Cropped right in on the face. Make people think more about like, hey, what's going on in this dragon's brain? Their mind. What is this fantastic beast trying to accomplish or figure out? All right, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this recording. I might hang out and chat just a little bit longer. My voice feels kind of strained. I need some water. But I'll wrap up the YouTube video. If you guys like what you've seen on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, leave a like, do the YouTube things, and I will see you all later. Bye bye for now, YouTube guys. Ending the recording.